Hello everyone, my name is Kyle and welcome to Rocket Recommends TemTem, a new early access game available on Steam. Even if you've been living in a cave, you most likely recognize this face. While it is difficult to assign a numeric value to a mascot's recognizability, Pikachu has name recognition on the level with Mario or even Mickey Mouse. Pikachu is the face of Pokemon, a franchise that has been a top seller for Nintendo since the 90s. And I don't want to turn this into a retrospective of the Pokemon series, so it's just important to know that there have been many challengers to the Pokemon throne. TemTem is one of those challengers. So, does TemTem have what it takes to overtake the champ? TemTem is Pokemon. I mean that in every sense of the word. Even without being there, I know exactly how the pitch meeting went for TemTem.
Okay, gentlemen, get this. It's Pokemon, but...
Brilliant! The core gameplay loop in TemTem is so similar to Pokemon, it borders on intellectual property theft. You're a young boy or girl who are sent to meet with a professor, or you're given your first TemTem from a choice of 3 starters, and are sent on a journey to defeat all the dojos by battling other trainers and catching stronger TemTem hiding in the tall grass. Change like 3 proper nouns, and that's the plot for Pokemon. So what does TemTem do different than Pokemon? Well, on a surface level, it's available on PC, so if you do not have a Nintendo console, this is the way to go. It's also about half the cost of Pokemon, which is certainly a nice benefit. Also, as someone who's never struggled to beat a Pokemon game, humble brag, TemTem is much harder. It took me multiple tries to beat the first dojo leader, and even then I got by the skin of my teeth. And I have to say, I relished that challenge. It was great to really feel pushback on my strategy, which isn't something that Pokemon has been able to do for over a decade. And while that's probably by design, it's nice to have a different option. TemTem also makes a lot of really small tweaks to the gameplay of Pokemon that are really refreshing. Instead of having to go back to a TemTem Center to heal your team, you're given a one-use item that acts as a mobile TemTem Center. This way, halfway through a long walk or tough battle, you can fully heal your team without having to truck all the way back to town. And this item is refilled each time you use a TemTem Center. And I'm realizing now that this review is really going to beg the question of how many times I can say TemTem Center before that continues to have no meaning whatsoever. Before certain battles, trainers will actually talk to you, and your character is given dialogue options to respond. I don't think these choices matter, but it's much more engaging than being a mute protagonist and just mashing through the dialogue. TemTem also speeds up a minor gripe I always had with Pokemon exploration. In Pokemon, whenever you want to cross the water, or light up a cave, or cut down a tree, you have to walk up to it, press A, select the action, then there's a little animation, and then you start going. In TemTem, if you want to surf, you just walk onto the water, and if you have a surfboard, you start surfing. It's a minor thing, but that in conjunction with the other minor improvements make me feel like TemTem actually respects my time as a player more than Pokemon does. The biggest selling point for TemTem is how online the game is. As you walk around, you see other trainers in the world. Global chat is off by default, and I've been on the internet long enough to know that I'm not going to turn that option on anytime soon. But players can still trade and battle and emote to one another. You can also team up with a friend and take on the game's challenges as a duo rather than alone. Anytime a game is online, I would always caution parents, since you can never be certain what kind of content might slip past the word censor. I tested the filter a bit with naming my TemTem, and it catches all the major words you want to avoid, as well as maybe some more surprising ones. For example, I caught this flying pig TemTem, and I wanted to name it Pick-a-Pig. Somewhere in that name was a banned word or phrase, but I couldn't find it. No filter is perfect, but in a game like this, kind of aimed at a younger audience and online, I appreciate the developers erring on the side of caution with a much more strict filter. That said, you can feel the places where the ambitions of TemTem bump up against the capabilities of the developer. There are several stretches of land that just don't go anywhere. There aren't hidden items, or tall grass, or an NPC. It just leads to nothing. The limited character models also bring up some strange situations, like a toddler with the model that looks more like a teenager. There's also a high number of locations that are marked with a WIP, or Work in Progress, sign. Which brings me to kind of my final point. This game is very much in early access, so there should be some caution here. I have no proof, but I just can't shake this feeling that the developer is going to get overly ambitious with this early success the game has found, and will burn themselves out without actually finishing the game. So when I take everything into consideration, I do recommend TemTem. It's a fun, challenging alternative to Pokemon, and even though I have my fears of the game maybe never getting fully finished, the game is already very much worth its asking price. So as they say in the game, get out there and TemTem up. Man, that was lame.